Okay, I think we'll get started. Some people may be joining us in a minute. So welcome and thank you very much for joining this session, looking at your marketing and seeing if it's built around your buyer or your business. And I'm going to go through some practical examples of what you can do using the GROW framework as a framework from that. I'll just give a quick introduction to start with me. Then I'll look at the buyer focus versus business focus and what the main differences are. Then I'll ask the question, where does marketing actually usually show up and the importance of understanding that. And then, as I said, I'll go through what the GROW framework is, the buyer journey and 4 key stages, and how you can use that to identify what's working for you and also what you can do to help sort of fill gaps that you identify. Then look at what good B2B marketing actually does, and then give you some of the examples to put it into practice and next steps before I give a final conclusion. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat or the Q&A, and we will get to them at the end. Thank you. Right, so welcome. My name is Ralph Frisk. If you don't know me, I am the founder of RR Marketing. So I'm a fractional CMO and board advisor, helping businesses with their marketing strategy and implementation, and identifying where it's not working and then helping them develop their sort of marketing plans and actions. I have 30 years of B2B marketing experience. I just updated that recently as I realized I actually hit 30 years of, which is a little bit scary. My last previous role was a global marketing internal comms director at Kantar, and worked for them for 18 years. I'm also a fellow of the CIM. And really what this comes about for is I've worked with businesses and doing marketing for a long time. And I realized there's a lot of activities going on there. And especially when we're talking with smaller businesses, they find that there's not necessarily always working. It's always being used in the right areas. So I have developed a new framework, which hopefully will be useful, which I'll go through. So just in basic terms, what's the difference on my mind in business versus buyer focused? Well, business focus really is looking internally and then talking out about what you're doing. So it's what we sell, focusing on our services, the features, the products, and do a lot of talking. And I see a lot of businesses that spend their time talking about their features, their USPs, what they can offer clients. But what I look at is trying to think about how to be buyer focused. So what are the buyers actually needing? What are their challenges? What outcomes and decisions do they need? And really you're spending your time helping rather than just talking to people. And hopefully that will come through when we go through this presentation. A lot of people have heard of the marketing funnel, AIDA, Awareness, Interest, Desire, and Action, where that's very consumer based. And it's not really the funnel isn't really the problem, but it's actually where marketing shows up. And as we know, especially in B2B, it's not usually one person making a decision, it's teams, and it can take time, and decisions need to be justified internally. So I developed this framework called GROW, where we look at the 4 stages of marketing: growing curious, recognizing needs, option evaluation, and then working in partnership. And what I've identified in the marketplace, a lot of people spend their time in the evaluation stage in their marketing. This is where people are looking to sort of actually make a decision. So there's a lot of things around brochures and credentials deck, but actually thinking about how marketing and B2B works, you need to focus a lot more on some of the other ones, and that's really what we're going to talk about today. So where does your marketing actually show up? Well, if you looked at B2B marketing, it's often concentrated in the options evaluation stage. So this is where you have the clients are just about to make a decision. So you get a lot about proposals, pictures, brochures, advertising, that area. But I think where a lot of people miss out on is the earlier stages, the growing curious and recognizing needs. This is where you start building your reputation, you're building your trust, building your content, and and I think this is something that I think a lot of businesses should focus a lot more on. But there also is at the end the W, working in partnership, and this is after you've got the sale. Often marketing goes quite quiet, and I think this is a really big area. But I think the time I always think that if you're getting into the option evaluation stage where people are about to just make a purchase, I think the marketing showing up there, the decision's already taken shape, and you might be missing out on opportunities. So I'm going to go through the 4 stages of the grow to identify what they actually mean, and then give some practical examples. So the growing curious, this is the stage where I would say buyers aren't actually buying. Your prospects probably don't even realize they have an issue. They don't have any sort of need for your services. However, they're looking out to see what's happening. They are looking at trends. They're looking at seeing what other people. They're just keeping themselves up to date what's going on in the market. And actually, what they're looking for is that aha moment. They're seeing something that's being talked about, and they think, well, actually, that could work for me. So that could be something of interesting. And this stage, what marketing usually is doing wrong is they're pushing products too early. If they're not really interested in a product or have an issue, they're not really wanting to start talking about their products. What they're looking for is they're wanting you to educate what's possible, what's going on. So showing up with insight and not products is really powerful. This is where you start building your trust. If you think about LinkedIn, for example, and B2B, that's one of the key platforms that people use. There's a huge amount of people that aren't actually engaging with content or actually asking for a solution, but they're reading stuff. We call them LinkedIn lurkers, and it may not have any impact now, but in 6 months later, they may be the ones that get in touch. So the opportunity is there, even if you don't see it. So you need to just keep building your education, your trust, your thought leadership, to show that you're trustworthy, you have knowledge, but don't push your products too early. So what this can look like in practice is you could share a myth versus fact post, something in your industry that people talk about, and actually say, well, is that true or not, or give us some information around it. Host a casual coffee chat. Again, not to try to sell here. This is to people can share ideas and share knowledge. Explain a trend in a blog or video. Talk about what's happening. Or if you go to an event, share 3 takeaways you've got and saying what you're learning from the industry. It's all about showing your expertise and knowledge and being that helpful person without having to be asked to be helpful. So the question I'll ask at the end of these is, what one thing could you try this week that maybe you're not doing just now? The recognizing needs. This is where the buyer is starting to identify there's a problem or there's a requirement, but aren't quite there and defining it. What quite often then happens is marketing then jumps straight into solutions. They start sort of saying, this is our solution too. But if the buyer's not quite defined what they need, they're probably not quite ready for that, and you could put them off. So what you really need to do is show that you understand their issue, understand their requirements. So rather than just showing a product, start listening and understanding, showing what you've done before. And you can even help them define the problem. So if they know there's something that's a little bit of an issue, you can help them work out what that is. And doing that probably means that they'll go closer to your solutions, and you can be that helpful partner. So again, what does this look like in practice? One of the most underused marketing tools is case studies. Through my 30 years in marketing, getting case studies has always been much harder than it should be. That can be through people not wanting to ask their clients, or for fear of them saying no. Sometimes it is because you have to keep certain aspects secret and private. But there is a massive case for using case studies, because they show your understanding of a challenge, of a client's challenge in their words. So it's something that I think is underused, but is really powerful. You can run a short "How We Helped X" session, or do a webinar. You could record a 60-second video answering a common question that you hear from your clients. Or you could create a checklist of red flags when choosing a supplier. Again, the key is you're helping them define the problem, you're helping them understand what is going on, and you're not just pitching a solution. So this is the stage of the option evaluation. This is where the decisions are being made. They may have now narrowed it down to 2 or 3 suppliers. And hopefully, if you've been building your reputation and trust, you're one of those. So they're comparing the options and now deciding who can they really trust. So what a lot of marketing does, it relies on very vague claims like great service, we can speed up, or we're quicker, which again, or quality. I mean, quality is the word that people use all the time, and it actually really means nothing. What you need to do at this stage is replace promises with proof. So make it easy to choose you. And one of the things in B2B is important, is most decisions aren't made by one person. You need to sort of provide this proof that they can then sell internally. So if you can show proof, then that can be really powerful for them to help sell internally. So it's make it as easy as possible for them to choose you. So what does that mean in practice? Well, go and have a look at either your website or your proposals. Look around and find 3 generic terms, and replace them with real metrics. So if you're saying you can speed up the process, show it with a client that you did it by 20%. If you can save them money, show them how much you can save them. If you've got quality, prove it. This is important because everyone can put generic terms and actually means very little, because we all do it. Marketing has a bank of generic terms we use, so prove that you can actually do it. Build the case studies and focus on the outcomes. What did it actually do for the business? How did it improve their business? Not just what you did, but actually showing the real world impact. Provide an opportunity to run an audit or a benchmark report for prospects. Give them something a little bit free. Give them something free that's a bit of information. Don't give it all away, but give them something that they can actually find helpful. And then on top of the case studies, client testimonials. Again, another really powerful tool that I think is underused in marketing, is getting the clients to talk about their successes in their own words. Much more powerful than you talking about it. The key is you're giving buyers something they can believe and justify internally. And everyone sounds the same at this stage, so proof is actually what makes you different. But even if you win, that's not the end of the journey. This is the stage that a lot of businesses forget with their marketing, and that's working in partnership. So this is when you've got them as a client, the deal is done, but there is a real opportunity here. What most marketing does, they treat that as the finish line. They then move on to trying to bring other clients in. But actually, there's a huge opportunity to improve that relationship. So treat it as a relationship, and not an afterthought. So turn those clients into long-term advocates. So what does that really mean? Well, with a client, share a quarterly trend or insights email, invite them first to a webinar or an event, make them feel special. Host a small client roundtable to share best practice. Again, you're not selling here, you're trying to give them value, and they feel special. bring in strategic thinking at key client milestones. So what I mean by this is I've seen in the past that the only times that clients get talked to is when they have to re-sign something, which doesn't really make it feel like a relationship. But if you are bringing it in, bring them extra, bring them sort of thought processes, something that they can take that's more than just the bog standard admin. Do that all the way through the relationship and help them grow. So what does in my mind good B2B marketing actually look like? Well, it's really about education and trust. Show up early and help them shape their thinking. Don't rely on them coming to you at the evaluation stage and actually you being on a level par if you haven't actually started to build that relationship 6 months, a year behind. You may, and the really difficult and the frustrating bit is you may not see the work is actually making an impact until it makes an impact. And that is a one big thing. You have these LinkedIn lurkers, you're sending out content to emails, and they may not be sort of linking and coming direct back to you, but they'll be absorbing the information. And there's quite a few times you'll have a client come and say, oh, if you ask them, where did you find us? Well, I read something about you. I was reading your articles and I've been sort of listening to you and etc. 6 months, and you had no idea. So it's really, really important. Then help them understand what their problem is. Again, don't focus on the actual solutions or the products, but help them understand and define their problems. Then when they are ready to start making a choice, prove it. I think that whole sort of aspect of proof is so important. And then at the end, partner with them. Keep adding value after the sale. Don't think that just because you've got them as a client, that's the end of marketing's job. We should still be continually adding value to them. A lot of marketing focuses on one stage, and that can be just the evaluation stage, but best marketing shows up across all of them, earlier, clearer, and more consistently. And I think when you're putting your marketing strategies together, you should be thinking about all these stages and how you affect. And certain aspects, certain tactics can work across different areas, but you do sometimes need to make sure that you're not missing whole aspects. So what I would ask you to do is think about how you can put it into practice. So for each of these sections, put in what one content idea you could do for the B2B in the B2B marketing journey. Keep it simple. Don't try to boil the ocean. Small steps count. And then identify what you think will make the biggest difference. So what next steps can I recommend? Well, what as part of this, when I developed the Grow journey, I actually realized that one of the things that people were asking is, how do I know where I'm fitting in or what I'm doing? So what I've developed is a Grow score sheet. It's just 9 questions. It takes a few minutes to fill in, and it shows you some of the areas that you might be lacking in your marketing and which areas to fix. And if you'd like a copy of this, I can just message me and I can more than happy to send it over to you. So that was the B2B buyer journey. I think the conclusion really I'd say is buyers don't just wake up in one day and say, well, I need to buy something. They've been spending their time learning, they're questioning, they're comparing before you even see them, and they build the confidence in who they're going to talk to. All of this you may have no visibility on, but it is happening. Just think about anything you buy for your business. It's very rarely that you'll just go to one supplier, and the more complex it is, the more research that you'll be doing. And any business that wants to grow consistently are helping buyers at every stage. And if your marketing is only showing up when they're choosing, you probably missed out most of the journey, and you probably missed out on opportunities that you don't even know about. So hopefully that was a whistle stop tour of the B2B marketing journey, and with some practical ideas that you can use. And hopefully you found it useful. But please do let me know. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.